Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
Good morning. The Morning Majority continues at 8:07. We are joined now by Senator Jeff Sessions from the great state of Alabama, home of the undefeated Crimson Tide.
You know, I was born there.
You were. Mm-hmm. I actually worked there. I used to work in Mobile, Alabama.
I've never been there.
I love the state of Alabama.
How about that?
And I'm actually a big fan of Senator Jeff Sessions. Senator Sessions, thanks for joining us here on the Morning Majority.
Well, thank you. I'm a Mobilian, and I look forward to being in Tuscaloosa for the big tussle.
That's right. It's going to be something else. Hey, let me ask you about what's going on Capitol Hill right now, because everybody's trying to figure out what that Supercommittee is up to. And are they going to be super serious about cutting the deficit and the debt without a bunch of trickery? What do you think, Senator?
Brian, they've got a goal that's far too small. The experts that have been over there and talked to them, Erskine Bowles and Alice Rivlin, served in Democratic administrations and have chaired deficit commissions. Both say they have to have $4 billion at a minimum, but their goal is $1 trillion over 10 years cut. They are looking from $1.1 trillion to $1.4 is their mandate, in addition to the one that was done during the Budget Act. So that would really put them just a little over 2. So there is a hope. Hope is if they could go bigger and actually do something that would change the debt trajectory of America. It would be a step. We would celebrate getting 2 over the next 10 years, but we'll spend $45 trillion over the next 4 years. So this country will not sink into the ocean if we would reduce spending to $41 trillion over the next 10 years. States, cities, and counties are doing much more than that and having much difficult times, but are successfully making their governments leaner and more productive.
Speaker of the House John Boehner seemed to be hinting yesterday that he might be open again to something akin to what was once called the grand bargain, and said that, he would be open in some cases to revenues if there were enough cuts. What say you?
It all depends on the circumstances. I strongly believe the American people should not be asked to send more money to Washington until they have seen this government bring spending under control. They've seen this government take seriously the responsibilities to submit honest budgets, take seriously the responsibility to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. We remain in denial. Members of Congress do not want to focus on the hard responsibility of cutting spending, and still have not done so, despite the fact we face the greatest systemic financial crisis our nation has ever faced.
Well, I know you're worried about budget gimmickry and all that kind of thing, and I wonder how sure you are, if even a deal came out that had $1.4 trillion, $1.5 trillion in alleged savings, how sure you'd be that those were actually there. A lot of these deals go sour when you start looking into the details. And what budget gimmicks would they use to obscure that?
That is a good question, and I'm not confident, frankly. You remember early in the spring we had a continuing resolution fight,
yes,
and eventually saved supposedly about $38 billion. But in truth, I hate to say it, about 17 of that 38 was chimps. Changes in mandatory programs. And if you got a second, I'll explain how that gimmick works. What happens is there's for example, a crime victims fund that has about $6 billion. It's supposed to take money from criminals to help pay for victims' losses, and that money is not spent. Only $700 million in this year's minibus that came through last year of the $6 billion was spent.
Right.
The money was required to be spent. Congress did not spend it, and they claim they saved $6 billion and in cut spending by $6 billion. But next year there'll be $6 billion in the fund, and they'll do the same thing. They'll say we only spend $700 million. We saved another $6 billion, and so 17 out of the $38 billion in the CR cuts were bogus chimps cuts. that never really take effect and aren't real savings. So there is a real problem with honest budgeting in Washington.
I think there's a lot of people would agree there's a way to save money by not giving loans to companies, green companies that we know are going to go under. I hear you have a play on the Buffett rule. There's the Jeff Sessions Solyndra rule. What's that about?
Well, it simply says Congress needs to step up and intensively manage this government, eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse before we ask the American people to send us more money. I really think it's just that simple. It's tough work to go through these agencies and departments. It's not as much fun as some of the other things people in Congress would like to do. Mm-hmm. But I tell you, we have got to systematically go through this government from stem to stern, and to honestly ask ourselves, can't we get by without spending this money? Isn't this a program that has not produced the results we liked for it? Don't we need to eliminate it? Can't we put our country on a sound footing and do it in a way that does not damage America? Yes, the answer is I'm convinced.
A lot of people have lost faith in the Attorney General, Eric Holder. Some even are calling for him to resign. Are you at that point yet? How do you feel on Eric Holder at this point?
Well, I have been disappointed. I did vote for him. Some of my colleagues did not. And I do believe he's allowed politics to influence that great Department of Justice. I spent 15 years in it. I believe in the Department of Justice. I know its ideals and the fabulous people that work there. And I do think that he has not been the strong, independent voice he should be. And I think he's been dead wrong on some big issues like trying to close Guantanamo, not trying enemy combatants as enemy combatants, but trying them in civilian courts. There's never any logic in that. It was mainly a political thing in the last campaign, frankly. So I have been disappointed. I haven't called for his resignation, but there is I think a generalized losing of confidence in the independence of his leadership.
All right. Well, it's great to have you on the program. Are you going to go to the game? Are you going to be in Tuscaloosa?
Yes, I'm going to go.
That's going to be great.
And I look forward. I think it'll be a fabulous thing, and a big college football game, particularly in the Southeastern Conference.
It's the best.
It's just a magnificent spectacle. It's just so great to be a part of it, and I hope it'll be a special day.
And LSU's going to win, right?
They are a powerful football team, but I tell you, Alabama's strong, too.
All right.
All right.
It'll be an exciting game.
Great to have you on. We appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Thank you.